Hey guys, ralfidude here. So upon realizing that the ILS instructional video that I made before was, well, shite, and by doing the ILS training with you guys online with a bunch of people, I came to a realization that I probably need to explain some stuff a little bit more. The video wasn't very well made. I knew that for a very long time. I thought it would suffice, but it appears that there are still some issues people are having, so I want to clear it up by maybe doing a couple of mistakes that maybe you guys are having trouble with and seeing how you can troubleshoot around that. And I will be going over this from scratch just to make sure all the bases are covered, alright? So let me unpause this and let's get this cracking. I wonder where I am. I have no clue. Wait. Ah, there it is. Tbilisi's right there. Cool. Okay, so see the airfield. I want to land over there. What do I do? Well, don't fret. You have a couple of options. One option is to print out a list of all the airfields, and you can have all the ILS, the TACAN frequencies, and all that jazz, including a map, which I highly recommend you guys do. The second thing you can do is to go and press function 2. Why? Because there's nav at the bottom, okay? So you want to get into the navigational sub mode there. And then this is all under the CDU. This probably indicates I am going too slowly. Yep, the gear handle is lit up. You can always just press the gear silence button right there. It's because I'm going 147 knots. Let me push the throttle up. And there's some troubleshooting for you. Alright, now go to CDU, and you see that we have a new option up here. You're going to click divert to an airfield, and now you have a list of different airfields. Now it goes from top to bottom, so everything that's on top is the closest airfield to you. You can also know that because this is your time to arrival. So currently from where we are in our airspeed, it would take us 2 minutes and 48 seconds to get to Sangloon Air Base, but we're interested in Tbilisi, Locini. So I'm going to select this one. Now you also have the runway headings. So the first runway we have is 31, and then we have 13, with the corresponding ILS frequencies. So for runway 31 we have 10.9, for runway 13 we have 110.3. Now here's the thing. There aren't two runways next to each other. This is a single runway, but you need to remember for runway 31, which would be 310 around here, we are approaching from here, going straight down towards 31. We could also land at the airfield, the same one, bearing 130, because if we were to go from here and fly upwards, this is 130 this way. So same runway, but two different headings. And your TACAN, there is no TACAN, not that you need it. And then you have tower frequency, so 138. Let's go ahead and put this in 138. Make sure your radios are on. It's in transmit and manual. 138, just make sure. 138, that's good. And I'm gonna go ahead and press my mic switch forward. Now, I don't know what the keyboard shortcut is to this, but you do need to press the shortcut for the VHF AM frequency, as you can see on top over here. And then you'll see F5 for ATC, call ATC, and you see that Locini is highlighted F2. And then you request an inbound.
Locina, big 1-1, inbound. Big 1-1, Locini, fly heading 48, port 1-1, QFE 28.77, runway 31, depattern out.
Okay, so what does this mumbo jumbo mean? Alright, so it's telling us that we need to fly a heading of 048 for 11 miles. We need to change our QFE, so our altimeter setting right here, this little gadget, to 2877. And we are cleared in to go into runway 31. How do we know where the airfield is on here? Well, as soon as you select an airfield from the divert page, it will show up as your current waypoint or steer point. It is currently the one highlighted in yellow right now. And it will also appear on the box that you see here on the HUD. So you need to turn 70 degrees for 13 miles. Now, this heading that they tell you is basically to get you aligned on an approach pattern. So the tower is not going to actually tell you the actual heading and direction towards the airfield itself, but it will tell you where to go to get so that you can go and land. So it's towards an approach pattern, basically. So if you wanted to know exactly where the airfield is, you would need to look at your HUD and look for that box. That indicates exactly where the airfield is. Or if you have TACAN, you can put that in and then just watch the little bar up here. But we're not going to worry about TACAN. It's beautiful weather. We don't have any restrictions. Okay, so what's next? Well, let's start plugging this in. So now we know we need to go and land on runway 31. Alright, so we need to use the ILS frequency 108.9. Alright, our ILS panel is located back here. This is our TACAN, and this is our ILS. Very simple panel. Let's unpause. Wait, what is it? I already forgot. 108.9. Alright, so we already have 108. If I wanted to move this around, I would scroll the mouse wheel, middle mouse wheel, in the middle here. If I were to click, my left click, nothing's going to happen. But if I right click, I turn it on. You see this little dial moves? So right clicking turns it off and on. I'm going to leave it off for just a second. So 108.9. Now to get the decimal point, you need to move the volume knob by scrolling your mouse wheel over it again. 90. And if you left click, you turn the volume down. Right click, you turn the volume up. It's pretty loud, so I'm going to leave it like half setting here. Alright, 108.9, just confirm. 108.9, confirmed. Alright, sweet. What's next? Alright, well, I need to turn it on in a bit. The other thing you're going to need is the yellow bars. This little bar that you see over here, currently it's stowed. But you're going to get a horizontal and a vertical line. You're going to need to align by having it a nice little plus. We'll go into that once it pops up. But right now, by default, always, it is in the stow position. So you need to actually turn it on. So if I go to the PTR switch and flip it to able, you see now the vertical has jumped out. Here is something I never went over in my first video. And this is something that has been an issue in the multiplayer session we had for training. The one thing I did not take note of is, to tell you guys, is this little triangle over here. This works with the horizontal bar. Now, there were a couple of guys who went in and they basically were going so high above the glide slope that the bar just was stowed. It was just not even existent at that point because they were way too high. Now, what you do with these bars is you chase them. Basically, if this bar is below, it means you need to go down. If this bar over here is to the right, it means you need to push to the right. You need to align it so that it makes a perfect plus. Except for those times if you are way too high, then the little bar is going to show up and it's going to be pointing all the way at the bottom to tell you to go down. And this will remain stowed at the bottom, as if it's not even active. And this is something that was troubling a lot of people. They were looking at this and they were thinking, oh, I got to keep diving, got to keep diving, I got to keep diving because the bar says that I'm too high. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is set up the course needle. Now, this isn't absolutely necessary since you have the HUD and everything and the map and all that. But it is great if you're going to be doing some pattern work. And I'll show you exactly what that means. So we know we need to go runway 31, so 310. I'm going to move the course set, not the heading set. The heading set moves the little bar over here. I'll leave it at north. I don't really use it much. We're worried about the course needle. And we want to set it to 310. Press and hold while I'm dragging it down. There's 310. We're pretty close. We'll be landing towards that. So you see the needle is pointing towards 3-1, so we're going to be approaching from here, going down towards 3-1. The remaining thing to do at this point is to click the ILS button. Now we have currently a couple of modes. Selected EGI obviously needs to be left on, and currently the needle here is pointing towards our steer point. If I were to flip that off, you see that it disappears. There's no longer anything that the HSI is really working towards. so we can obviously leave that in a steer point. As soon as you click ILS though, now, because ILS is not turned on or we're not picking up a signal, you'll see red tapes. Now this means that we haven't picked up the signals, and the ILS bars are not going to be working. You'll know when they've picked it up because the red tapes are going to disappear. If we had TACAN and we wanted to be using it, we can also use TACAN at the same exact time. But note that your steer point will now disappear. So we don't have TACAN, we don't need to worry about that. So, ILS. Alright. Now we're 8,000 feet. We are heavy. I think I have some weapons on board. That I do. So I'm just gonna jettison all of my stores. Beauty. Lower my speed. Now just so you guys can see on the HUD, my needle is telling me that my waypoint's to the left. This is the TVV, or total velocity vector, the ball with the 3 lines going through it. And another 0 degrees. And there's the airfield. You see it's pointed right there. Wonderful. So we need to go at it from right to left. Now we're 7,000 feet. Nice approach altitude is something around 2,500 feet. And it's nice to lower your speed as we do this. The other thing you need to remember is the speed at which you're going to approach this airfield, which is indicated right here. This little one over here is going to be a green circle, which is if you have the ball, they say. And this is when you're going at it dead on in the right speed, the right manner. If you have 2 lines here, then you are going too fast. If you have the lines up here, you are going too slow. So what you're looking for is for the nice green ball over here. Basically your landing speed should be something like 150 knots, give or take. Just look for 150. You can do it slower. I think the stall speed of an A10 is something along the lines of 120 knots. Now I'm going to show you what happens if you reach the airfield from the wrong side. There's our airfield on the right. Now I'm approaching from the wrong side. I mean, I should be going from right to left, but I'm just showing you what's going on. Alright, so the one thing I didn't do is turn on ILS. I'm going to go ahead and flip it on now. It's in power. Okay. I'm going to get off autopilot, turn right. You can hear the ILS beeping. Now look at a course needle. Now remember I set it to 3-1. I know I'm approaching from the wrong side and all. But you see how I'm now perpendicular to the airfield? This is frickin' perfect for when you're doing pattern work. Now look at that needle jump. Now it's telling me I'm so damn high that the needle's all the way at the bottom. And I need to chase the needle, so I need to go low. But notice, even though my horizontal bar is showing up, the vertical one isn't. Why is that? Well, it's because I'm approaching the airfield from the wrong side. I'm not actually getting the correct ILS reading. You see, the ILS for runway 13 is actually behind us. The one that we're using is in front of us on the other side. Now you see the vertical jump in. Yeah, see, and this is your first indication that something is wrong. Basically, we came at the airfield from the wrong damn side. And that's the beacon station right there, that little house that my total velocity vector is pointing at, I believe. Yep, you see the marker beacon flash? Whenever you pass over one of these beacon stations, the marker beacon will flash and you'll get that tone. Doesn't mean you need to eject, it doesn't mean you did something wrong, it just means you're passing over the beacon and you're very close to touching down. So if you're in 0 visibility, you can use that as a nice reference to prepare your anus. And I believe that could be another transporter. Yeah, that's another transporter. So this is the first sound you're going to hear, and then you're going to hear that other tone later. Okay. So that's numero uno. Let's show you what happens if you reach the airfield from the correct position, but from an altitude that's way too high. Alright, I'm currently parallel to the runway. I know this because of the HSI needles. If I look back, and yeah, I'm pretty much parallel to the runway. This is another mistake a lot of people make. Take a look at what happens in the HSI. Now you see the needle on this side tells you where the airfield is versus this is your aircraft. Now this needle is going to suddenly jump, and a lot of people wait until this needle starts to move down to align itself perfectly with the runway, and it's going to be way too late for you to turn onto the runway. There, you see? We already passed the frickin' runway. There's no way you're going to make a 90-degree turn like that. And there's the runway, we already passed it. So a lot of people make a mistake of trying to align themselves with the runway that way. Start making that turn, there's the vertical bar, and there's the runway bar. And bada bing, bada boom. Alright, I say. I'm pretty much almost lined up. I need to make a slight correction to the right. Remember, chasing the needle. There's the first mark and beacon. And this is something people do. They start chasing the needle too much. They go, oh, I need to correct too much right. Oh, I need to correct too much left. Oh, look, the needle just went over there. Let me start making this now. See what happens? You are all over the place. And if you notice, we're too high. And we know this because the needle is down here and this hasn't even come up. Trim is going to be essential for landing. There might be times when you need to take your hands off the stick and throttle and just basically do something else, like, oh crap, I forgot a button, let me go ahead and push it. And you let go of your aircraft and you realize, oh crap, I'm starting to crash into the damn ground. Why? Well, you haven't trimmed your aircraft the entire way through. So when I do my landings, I trim. Trim. Alright, when to drop your gear? Drop your gear when you hit below 200 knots. So look for 200. Once you're below 200, hit dead gear. Okay guys, this is to demonstrate what happens if you approach the runway from way too low. That's the runway on the left with the lights. Now look what's happening here. A lot of people would chase the needle and they keep going low because they see the horizon bars down here. But you'd be wrong, because look at the needle here. It's up high. So I'm going to turn left towards the runway. It's over there. I know I'm not aligned with it perfectly. That doesn't matter right now. What matters is this little issue that a lot of people were having. Is the fact that they see this bar here. This just means that it's basically not even active right now. Even though you see the vertical bar, because we are so below where we should be, we need to go higher to make this bar pop up and basically be active. So look what happens. I'm going to go up to chase this bar, and then should pop up in a second. There's the first marking beacon, there it goes through, and there it pops up. You see? And now it's down here, you basically follow it down. And as we get lower, the bar should, there it is.
Pull up.
And you see what's going on. There you go. Now it's about past my 10 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and start my turn now. Basically, once whatever you want to turn into is at your 10 o'clock, if you start a nice little slight turn at your 10 o'clock, if it's on your 10 o'clock left or on your 2 o'clock right, then you should basically line up with whatever it is you're trying to line up with nicely. And you can see we did a pretty good job. I don't even need to look outside the cockpit window, and look at that. Look how nicely we're almost aligned with the runway. So remember, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And we are so damn high, we're going to go and lower our nose. And I'm going to deploy my air brakes now. And look at that vertical going off to the right, so I'm going to go ahead and push right. But not by much. Look, it's coming back to the left slowly. I don't even need to make that many corrections. Get rid of my air brakes. And look at that. Horizontal is popping up. Drop my gear. Flaps half. Trim, left a little bit, up. And look at that. Ball.
Altitude.
140, looks like that's where the ball is. Flaps full. I'm passing over to second beacon. Alright, there we go. Now, the last thing. Once you see the runway in sight, do not use your ILS to land. See what happened there? It gets so sensitive when you reach the runway itself, then it's almost impossible to guide the aircraft on the flight path that it should be. And that's it, really. I mean, I don't really see any more reason for you gentlemen to be having any issues with ILS landings. If you're not picking up the bars, then it's because you are way too high, way too low. If you're only picking up the vertical and not the horizontal, if you're not picking up either, then you are not tuned in to the right ILS frequency, or you're not even in the right airfield. Furthermore, you could be approaching it from the wrong side. So those are the things to watch out for. Practice, practice, practice makes perfect. Don't try and land from right in front of the runway. Give yourself a lot of space. That way, you'll have a lot of time to correct. When I was talking, I dropped in speed and all that. I'm able to do this perfectly when I'm not focusing on talking. But basically, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And then once you got that, you need to start practicing how to do crosswind landings. And there's a couple of tricks with that, but I'm not going to cover any of it. So good luck and practice. Laters.